Jiang Shengsheng gave all her best youth to Lu Mingfei, but who knew that the man would cruelly abandon her? At this time, she met another man. When she lay in the arms of another man, Lu Mingfei, who had always ignored Jiang Shengsheng, realized how wrong he was. After a heavy snow, the weather became much better. The faint sunlight peeked out from the clouds and lazily sprinkled on the thick snow. Jiang Shengsheng woke up very early today and looked much better than the previous 2 days. The doorbell rang, and Jiang Shengsheng heard Fu Jinji opening the door and followed him out of the room. I saw a few people dressed as waiters pushing a row of hangers full of dresses in the door. The secretary in charge saw her and stepped forward with a flattering smile. "Hello, Miss Jiang, I am Mr. Zhang's secretary, my last name is Zhang. I heard that you are going to a wedding today, and the old man has asked someone to prepare a dress for you. Can you take a look and see which one suits your eyes?" Jiang Shengsheng looked at Fu Jinji beside him in confusion. Fu Jinji gave her a comforting look. "Mr. Jiang greeted me last night. You went to bed early yesterday, so I didn't have time to tell you. The old man wanted to make up for what he owed you over the years, so he prepared these." Jiang Shengsheng looked at the dresses in front of her, each of which was naturally very valuable. But for so many years, she had no relatives except Miss Jiang, and she still felt very uncomfortable with the sudden appearance of this grandfather. She didn't feel that Mr. Jiang owed her anything, so naturally there was nothing to compensate him for. She couldn't help but take a step back and shook her head. "No, I have my own clothes. Secretary Zhang, please return the things." Secretary Zhang wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Fu Jinji. "You guys go out first, let her change her clothes, otherwise she will miss the wedding." Secretary Zhang had no choice but to take the person out again. Jiang Shengsheng finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Brother Fu." Fu Jinji didn't respond. He turned around, picked up a gift box on the table and handed it to Jiang Shengsheng. "Go ahead, change into this set." Jiang Shengsheng opened the box, and inside was a dress that had been prepared long ago. It was simple and elegant, without too many luxurious accessories, but it was not cheap either. She was about to refuse, but Fu Jinji spoke first. "Jin Yan sent it to you. He said you can't lose your aura today." Jiang Shengsheng was choked back. Since it was a gift from Fu Jinyan, she could still accept it. After all, they had been friends for many years. "I thought the dress would look weird on her, but it surprisingly fit her perfectly. After she fell ill, she lost a lot of weight and many of her clothes could no longer fit her. But this dress covered up her thin parts and made her look a lot more energetic." She looked at herself in the mirror, smiled with satisfaction, and put on makeup. She seemed no different from a normal person. When she went out, Fu Jinji was waiting for her at the door. Seeing that her clothes were thin, he took off his coat and put it on her, leaving himself wearing only a black suit. "Brother Fu, it's okay, I can go back and get it. Now, you are my fiancé, you can accept my care openly." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Shengsheng's face quickly flushed. She was obviously just pretending to be his fiancé, but his sudden warmth made her heart beat suddenly. Fu Jinyan had already gone to the scene with his female companion, so the two had to drive to the wedding alone. Lu Mingfei's wedding venue was chosen to be in a large castle in the Zigzag shopping mall, which is also the most expensive banquet venue in Yuecheng. This wedding was truly grand, with many business tycoons attending in person, although some of them came just for Fu Jinji. Newlyweds always have to greet guests at the door, especially Lu Mingfei's wedding, which was mixed with business dealings. When Fu Jinji and Jiang Shengsheng walked over, Lu Mingfei was chatting with the CEO with a smile. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Boss Fu is here." Everyone looked over and saw Fu Jinji got out of the car first, then walked around to the passenger seat to open the door. Lu Mingfei walked forward tactfully and took out a pack of wedding cigarettes as usual. "Mr. Fu, almost everyone has arrived. Young Mr. Fu has gone in first. Everyone has been waiting for you. I would like to thank you, Mr. Fu, for coming to attend the wedding in person." As he said this, Lu Mingfei handed forward the wedding cigarette in his hand. Fu Jinji glanced at him, took the wedding cigarette, turned around and opened the passenger door. "This must be Mr. Fu's fiancé, really." Before he could finish his words, he suddenly froze in place after seeing the face clearly. "Is this Jiang Shengsheng?" Jiang Shengsheng wore a champagne-colored dress, her makeup was soft but not vulgar, and her long hair was simply tied up. She looked elegant and intellectual, and was really stunning. Seeing Lu Mingfei's expression, Jiang Shengsheng smiled with satisfaction, stepped on her slender high heels, and got out of the car holding Fu Jinji's hand. Her tone was relatively calm. "I heard that Mr. Lu was getting married, so I came here to congratulate him. Happy wedding." The 4 words "happy wedding" sounded extremely ironic when they came out of Jiang Shengsheng's mouth. After saying that, Jiang Shengsheng turned around and walked inside without even a glance. Lu Mingfei recovered from his shock and was about to say something when he was blocked by Fu Jinji's back. Lu Mingfei's face changed. No matter how much he wanted to pull Jiang Shengsheng aside to ask her about the situation, he couldn't go forward to get involved. With so many business partners here today, he must not make any joke. The ceremony is about to begin, and this marriage must be completed no matter what. There were many familiar faces at Lu Mingfei's wedding. Some of the bosses here have dealt with Jiang Shengsheng before, and most of them also know that Jiang Shengsheng and Lu Mingfei used to be in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. But now Fu Jinji brought Jiang Shengsheng to the wedding, and no one dared to give Fu Jinji face. It was just that the two of them caused a lot of whispers when they entered. The ceremony hasn't started yet, and Jiang Shengsheng feels uncomfortable with the scrutiny from the sidelines. Brother Fu, I'm going to the bathroom first and will come to you later. Fu Jinji nodded calmly. Go ahead, Jin Yan, and I will wait for you over there. Jiang Shengsheng escaped everyone's gossiping gazes when he reached the bathroom door and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Before she came here, she thought she would be sad to see Lu Mingfei's wedding, but when she saw Lu Mingfei again just now, she found that it was nothing special. Maybe I feel sad, but I don't feel sorry. Since he can marry anyone, it doesn't have to be her. As for the so-called 8-year relationship, Jiang Shengsheng could take it and let it go. As a dying person, there is nothing to be uneasy about. Jiang Shengsheng. Suddenly, a sharp cry from a middle-aged woman came from behind. When Jiang Shengsheng turned around, she saw Lu Mingfei's mother Su Yumei walking towards her. Jiang Shengsheng frowned slightly, but still smiled at her politely. Auntie, is there anything wrong? Hearing the alienation in Jiang Shengsheng's tone, Su Yumei's face tensed. Today is my son's wedding, why are you here? We didn't invite you to come. She didn't know when Jiang Shengsheng broke up with Lu Mingfei, nor did she know that Lu Mingfei had always thought she was dead. She just looked displeased when she saw Jiang Shengsheng pestering her at the wedding. Jiang Shengsheng resisted the urge to laugh and did not answer. Su Yumei was anxious. What kind of occasion is this today? Don't try to cause trouble. Also, you wanted to leave on your own at that time. Don't come back now to blackmail my son for money, do you? Seeing Jiang Shengsheng smiling without saying anything, Su Yumei felt more and more that her guess was right, and she pulled Jiang Shengsheng out. No! Get out! You are not welcome here. She had just grabbed Jiang Shengsheng's hand when someone called her from behind. Mom! Su Yumei let go, only after hearing Lu Mingfei's voice. Mingfei, why are you here? Today is your big day. Don't be bewitched by this woman. Zhou Yun is pregnant with my grandson. It sounded as if Jiang Shengsheng regretted leaving and was deliberately trying to extort a large sum of money from her son's wedding. Jiang Shengsheng never liked to talk to Su Yumei. He just glanced at Lu Mingfei and said, Mr. Lu, it's rude to treat guests like this. Her distant tone and indifferent attitude made Lu Mingfei feel inexplicably nervous. He had never seen Jiang Shengsheng like this before. Even though she was right before his eyes, he felt as if she was out of his reach and unfamiliar. It was the first time for her to wear such an expensive dress to attend a banquet. In the past, she always said that an evening dress that she could only wear once was too luxurious. He suddenly recalled that she was with Fu Jinji today. You are not dead, and you're Fu Jinji's fiancé? Lu Mingfei found it a little unbelievable. Jiang Shengsheng had only been away from him for a few months, how could she be with Fu Jinji so soon? Obviously, Jiang Shengsheng loved him the most, didn't he? Before Jiang Shengsheng could speak, a cold and deep male voice came from the end of the corridor. Sounds. Hearing the voice, the three of them looked over and met Fu Jinji's sharp gaze, which was like a knife. Lu Mingfei's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he felt an inexplicable hostility. Jiang Shengsheng smiled faintly at Fu Jinji, took 2 steps forward and walked to his side. Why are you here? Didn't you say I would come to see you later? Fu Jinji saw that she looked a little unhappy, so he took the handbag from her hand and looked at her with a gentle look. You've been gone for too long, I came to see, what happened? Hearing this, Su Yumei couldn't stand it anymore and snorted coldly. What a fickle woman. It's only been a short time since we separated from my son and she's hooked up with someone else. It's a good thing she didn't enter my Lu family in the first place. Although the sound was not loud, the other 3 people could hear it clearly. Lu Mingfei's face immediately darkened, and Jiang Shengsheng pursed his lips, looking even more displeased. Those who don't know would think that Jiang Shengsheng had done something wrong to Lu Mingfei. Without waiting for Jiang Shengsheng to speak, Fu Jinji glanced at Su Yumei and frowned, but said, Boss Lu is very efficient, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to attend Boss Lu's wedding so soon. There is obviously something else behind these words. It has been a few months since they broke up and Lu Mingfei is about to get married. What right does he have to criticize others? Su Yumei was choked and speechless, and her old face turned red. Fu Jinji retracted his gaze and naturally took Jiang Shengsheng's hand. Go to the front, Jin Yan was just asking you. Jiang Shengsheng was LED away by him, leaving Su Yumei and Lu Mingfei standing there. Mingfei, don't worry about her, the wedding is about to begin. Lu Mingfei didn't know when his fists had been clenched together, and he found it extremely glaring to see the 2 people leaving hand in hand. At this moment, Secretary Yang came over in a hurry. Boss Lu, there's something wrong up ahead, you go over and take a look. The originally bustling hall was now filled with whispers, and the projector that had been playing sweet pictures of the newlyweds was now showing intimate photos of the bride and another man. When Jiang Shengsheng arrived at the hall, he saw a photo of the man Zhou Yun was holding hands with yesterday and kissing Zhou Yun passionately. She paused, too shocked to move. Who is so bold as to release these things at Lu Mingfei's wedding? This will not only disrupt other people's weddings but also make Lu Mingfei lose face from now on. Shengsheng! Fu Jinyan shouted in the crowd, then stepped forward with a wicked smile and asked in a low voice, "How is it? Isn't my move of killing people and destroying their hearts good?" Looking at Fu Jinyan's expression, which looked like he was begging for praise, Jiang Shengsheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yes, apart from the people from the Fu family, how many others would dare to do such a trick at Lu Mingfei's wedding? She felt inexplicably happier. She naturally didn't want to see that her 8 years of hard work would end up being a waste of money for others, and Fu Jinyan really helped her vent her anger. "Get out of the way! Don't watch it, don't watch it! Who on earth is behind this? Stop it, don't broadcast it!" Zhou Yun rushed forward from the backstage, picked up a few things and threw them at the big screen in front of him, looking very embarrassed. "Is this Lu Mingfei's bride? She's so bold to meet her lover on the wedding night." The guests nearby also laughed quietly and said, "I heard that this is a marriage for pregnancy. It seems that it is hard to say whose child this is." Then Lu Mingfei was given a big hat? As everyone was talking, they couldn't help but make a few sarcastic remarks. All these words fell into the ears of Lu Mingfei, who came hurriedly. His face was already ashen. The moment Zhou Yun saw Lu Mingfei, her face turned pale and she quickly ran towards him. "Mingfei, listen to me, this is not true. Someone must have deliberately framed me and wanted to destroy the relationship between us." Lu Mingfei's eyes flashed with cruelty. "Do you know what will happen if you betray me?" Zhou Yun shrank back in fear and quickly shook her head. "No, I didn't." Fu Jinyan, on the other side, couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Boss Lu, it looks like the time is almost up. Will the wedding continue today?" Lu Mingfei's face visibly darkened. Zhou Yun turned around to interrupt Fu Jinyan, but out of the corner of her eye she saw Jiang Shengsheng standing beside them. You're not dead." Zhou Yun's face was as pale as paper, and her hands were shaking as she pointed at Jiang Shengsheng. "You must have deliberately hurt me and wanted to take Mingfei away from me. You just wanted to extort more money." Jiang Shengsheng just sneered and turned to look at Fu Jinji beside him. "Today's wedding should be over, let's go back." Fu Jinji noticed that her face was getting paler, so he took off his coat and put it on her, then he put his arm around her and said softly, "Okay." After saying that, the two of them walked out of the hall side by side without even glancing at each other. Lu Mingfei looked at Jiang Shengsheng's back without any reluctance, raised his foot and wanted to move forward, but was blocked by Fu Jinyan. Fu Jinyan smiled playfully. "It's too late to regret now, this is called karma." Lu Mingfei's eyes were sinister. "I never believe in karma." "Really? Then let me tell you, losing Jiang Shengsheng will be the thing you regret most in your life." "Regret?" Lu Mingfei secretly clenched his fists. He didn't believe that Jiang Shengsheng would fall in love with someone else so quickly. She was just angry because of the last quarrel. As for Zhou Yun, she made him lose face, so naturally all their friendship disappeared. Walking out of the castle, a black car stopped at the door. Seeing Jiang Shengsheng coming out, Secretary Jiang got out of the car and came forward. "Miss Jiang, the old man wants to have dinner with you today. I wonder if it's convenient for you?" Jiang Shengsheng's body was already a little weak and he had no strength left. But when you think about how old the old man is, and how she is his only granddaughter, and how she has never enjoyed any family happiness in her life, it's really pitiful. "Good." Secretary Jiang opened the car door for her, and the next second, Fu Jinji grabbed her hand. "Since it's dinner, let's go later. Now let's go back to the hotel and get some rest." Seeing Fu Jinji's unyielding look, Jiang Shengsheng pursed her lips and had to agree to go in the evening. After sitting in Fu Jinji's car for a while, Jiang Shengsheng couldn't help but ask, "Brother Fu, don't you like me having too much to do with Mr. Jiang?" Fu Jinji pulled the seat belt over to fasten it for her, and said softly, "No, I'm very happy that your family treats you well, but you are too tired today and need to rest." He was so close that she could smell the faint minty scent on him. She couldn't help but clench her hands and began to mumble, "Brother Fu, do you like?" Before Jiang Shengsheng could ask, Fu Jinji simply answered, "Yes." The atmosphere in the car suddenly heated up, making Jiang Shengsheng's face feel hot. She looked back into Fu Jinji's eyes. Her cold eyes were calm, yet full of seriousness, as if there was a fire burning in them. The cold wind outside was hitting the car window. Jiang Shengsheng's expression froze, and then he smiled stiffly and said, "Do you like staying in Yuecheng?" The atmosphere became gloomy again at this moment. An unknown love song was playing in the car, which inexplicably exaggerates a sense of sadness. Fu Jinji gazed deeply into her smiling eyes, and finally could only smile faintly. "Yes, I like it." When the two returned to the hotel, Fu Jinyan had already arrived. You didn't see the look on Lu Mingfei's face at the end. He announced the cancellation of the wedding on the spot. Zhou Yun cried and yelled but didn't even let him look back. TSK TSK, how heartless. As soon as Fu Jinyan came back, he deliberately told Jiang Shengsheng what happened next. Jiang Shengsheng just nodded after hearing this. It took him 8 years to see through Lu Mingfei. He appears gentle and humble on the surface, but deep down he is selfish and cold. The sad thing is that she wasted the best years of her life. The pain in her stomach grew stronger, but she endured it without showing it. I'm a little tired today. I'm going to take a rest first. Fu Jinyan opened his mouth to say something, but saw Fu Jinji stand up first and pour a glass of warm water for Jiang Shengsheng and hand it to her. Remember to take your medicine. Jiang Shengsheng took the water and went back to his room. There were only 2 brothers left in the huge living room, and the lively atmosphere just now suddenly became quiet. Fu Jinyan stopped looking nonchalant, rested his elbows on his knees, and remained silent for a moment. Brother, I want to leave here. Fu Jinji heard something wrong in his tone, and when he turned around he noticed that the corners of his eyes were slightly red. Where do you want to go? Back to High City? Fu Jinyan rubbed his hair vigorously, feeling irritated. It doesn't matter where we go, brother, I can't watch her die. She is my best friend. At first, he simply wanted to accompany her on her final journey, then he wanted to make her happier, and later, he really hoped that she could live a good life in this world forever. People are always greedy. Once they are satisfied with one thing, they want more. But now, I have to watch her life slip away bit by bit, and I can only watch. Fu Jinji looked at the tightly closed door and breathed a sigh of relief. Well, if you can't stand it, just get out of here early. The scenery outside the window was covered with a layer of gray, and sporadic snowflakes began to fall without knowing when. Fu Jinyan took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and handed it to Fu Jinji. Seeing that Fu Jinji didn't take it, he took it back, took out a cigarette, lit it, and smoked several cigarettes in succession. Finally, he put out the 3rd cigarette in the ashtray and looked at Fu Jinji seriously. What about you? Will there ever be a day when you can't stand it anymore? Fu Jinji seemed to be stumped by this question. He paused for a long time before chuckling. Yes, but I'm a little worried, Jinyan. If we're not with her, I'm worried that she will forget to take her medicine on time. After a few seconds of silence, Fu Jinyan suddenly stood up from the sofa, turned his back to Jiang Shengsheng's room, and said in a dull tone, I'll go back to pack my things. Tomorrow she will come to see me off, right? Fu Jinji did not stop him, his body froze in place without moving. Well, she will. Hearing Fu Jinyan's footsteps fading away, Fu Jinji suddenly felt as if he had lost all his strength. He leaned back on the sofa, sinking deeper and deeper. His heart was beating wildly. At that moment, the woman who was separated from him by a door was sleeping peacefully, but he became more and more clear that one day, he would watch her say goodbye to him forever with his own eyes. The more he feared death was approaching, the less he dared to tell her his feelings clearly. He is not Fu Jinyan, and he and she have never been friends. Watching the scenery outside the window turn from white to dark, the night is quiet, as if it can warm the whole city. Fu Jinji picked up his phone and booked a flight to France. 2. The city nights always seem to be bustling and bustling, regardless of winter or summer. The lights outside the window were bright and colorful. I didn't know what was going on in the west. Fireworks were being set off. The fireworks rise into the sky, shining brightly for a moment. Jiang Shengsheng woke up and quietly looked at the scenery outside the window. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth without him noticing. Under the tall building, there are couples holding hands on the street and a family of 3 taking a walk. It seems that everyone is very happy. Knock, knock, knock. Someone is knocking on the door outside the room. Come in. Jiang Shengsheng turned around and saw Fu Jinji gently push open the door, letting in the light from the living room. With his back to the light, he saw her standing by the window, then smiled and called her softly, Shengsheng, it's almost time for dinner. Jiang Shengsheng stood there, his eyes fixed on him, and just looked at him for a long time. Seeing the determination on his face and the tenderness in his eyes, I seemed to be able to see myself in his eyes at that moment. Even though there was not a single word spoken, the atmosphere exuded a gentle and sad feeling. After a long time, Fu Jinji walked slowly forward, stopped beside her, and looked out the window. Shengsheng, it's snowing. It's snowing really hard. Jiang Shengsheng turned his head and saw that heavy snow had indeed begun to fall outside the window. She also laughed. Yes, brother Fu, it's snowing so heavily, I don't know if we can see each other again next year. Yes. Fu Jinji answered straightforwardly. But Jiang Shengsheng still saw a glimmer of tears in his eyes under the reflection of the light outside the window. She didn't know why her eyes turned red, and she continued to force a smile. I really hope that it will be the same year after year. Fu Jinji turned his head to look at her. The dim light shone on her face, making her look like a rose that was about to bloom, penetrating into people's hearts with its strong and gentle charm. He raised his hand, wanting to touch her head, but stopped abruptly just before touching her. The suspended hand was slowly retracted, and then secretly clenched into a fist. Shengsheng, I have booked 2 tickets to France. Would you like to go with me? This was not the first time he asked her. He didn't get an answer last time, but this would be the last time. He thought Jiang Shengsheng would ask him a lot of questions, such as what did he mean and if there was anything wrong. But she didn't. She looked at him very seriously, trying to see any emotions hidden in his eyes. Then, he stated very calmly, Brother Fu, I will die sooner or later. Fu Jinji said looking as calm as ever. Jiang Shengsheng couldn't see any extra emotions through his eyes, and finally just smiled at him gently, then let me think about it. Good. The two seemed to have an unusual tacit understanding on this matter. After they walked out of the door, no one mentioned it again, let alone asked about the deeper meaning behind it. Mr. Jiang had arranged to have dinner at a high-end restaurant near the hotel. There was a lot of traffic outside the restaurant, and various business tycoons and celebrities were inside. As soon as she got off the car, Jiang Shengsheng met a few familiar bosses who came up to say hello, but most of these people came to establish a relationship with her because she was Fu Jinji's fiancé. I guess these people got the news from somewhere today and came here specially to find your grandfather who is having dinner here. If you don't want to pay attention to them, don't pay attention to them. I'll take you to the old man. Fu Jinji had just finished speaking when he saw Secretary Jiang coming towards him from afar in the aisle. Miss Jiang, Mr. Fu, you are finally here. The old man is already waiting in the private room. Jiang Shengsheng just greeted politely and followed Secretary Jiang inside. Secretary Jiang didn't know if he knew something, so he pretended to mention it casually. Miss Jiang, Mr. Lu just came in and was talking to the old man inside. Which Mr. Lu? It was Mr. Lu who held the wedding at Zigzag Square today. I heard that there was a little trouble at the wedding because of the negligence of our staff, and the wedding was not held. The old man happened to hear about it and happened to see someone here, so he went in to chat for a while. It turns out it was really Lu Mingfei. Jiang Shengsheng frowned slightly. This matter was exposed by Fu Jinyan. The staff was responsible, but how could the old man know about such a small matter? Whether it was a good thing for Lu Mingfei to be here or not, only he himself knew. Do you want me to accompany you in? Fu Jinji stopped and asked her when they reached the door. Jiang Shengsheng hesitated for a moment and nodded. Now when facing Lu Mingfei, she always has a weird feeling in her heart. Fu Jinji reached out his hand to her, motioning her to relax. One look made her feel at ease instantly. She somehow handed over her hand and walked in hand. Old sir, Miss Jiang and Mr. Fu are here. Lu Mingfei and Jiang Zongguo were in the private room, talking about something and laughing happily. Mr. Jiang smiled even more happily when he saw Jiang Shengsheng. Shengsheng is here, Mr. Fu, come in and sit down. Then he turned around and introduced, Boss Lu, this is my granddaughter Shengsheng, and this is Boss Fu. You have had business cooperation before, so you must know each other. Shengsheng, this is Boss Lu, a young man with great prospects in Wecheng. As expected, when Lu Mingfei heard the old man's introduction, his face was full of disbelief. How could she be Mr. Zhang's granddaughter? Seeing Lu Mingfei's reaction, it was within Jiang Shengsheng's expectations. She smiled at him politely and extended her hand to shake his hand. Mr. Lu, we didn't greet each other properly during the wedding in the daytime, so now it's official. Lu Mingfei was stunned, then he reached out. But the moment he touched her hand, she had already pulled it back. Lu Mingfei could only withdraw his hand awkwardly, but the smile on his face was already ugly. Hello. Hello. Old Master Jiang noticed that the atmosphere was a little off, so he smiled and waved his hand, saying, Okay, I just want to have a meal with my granddaughter today, and we'll talk about other things next time. Lu Mingfei wanted to say something, but Secretary Jiang behind him politely dismissed him. Mr. Lu, this way please. Old Master Jiang glanced at the hands of Jiang Shengsheng and Fu Jinji, smiled knowingly, and didn't ask any more questions. Come, Shengsheng, this Huainan cuisine restaurant, your mother used to love Huainan cuisine the most. Then Mr. Fu, I think I'll just call you Little Fu from now on. It's more intimate. Come, let's have dinner together. Jiang Shengsheng didn't know much about the old man of the Jiang family, but Fu Jinji often had business dealings with the Jiang family. When the old man was young, he was also a prominent figure in the business world and was known for his tough temper, but now that he is old, he is particularly amiable. Shengsheng, why are you so thin? Eat more and stop being so picky about food like your mother. The old man always mentions Miss Jiang, which shows that he loves Miss Jiang very much. If Miss Jiang were still alive, she would probably feel warm too. After being born for so long, Miss Jiang had never mentioned her biological father to her, and she didn't even know what kind of person her biological father was. Your father was a playboy when he was young, but I didn't expect that he would become quite successful in his middle age. The old man was still angry when he mentioned this person. Who is he? I would really like to meet him. Her deepest regret has always been that she has never been loved openly by her parents throughout her life. Now that she has grown up, fatherly love doesn't seem to be important anymore, but she really wants to know who in this world took away the love and care that she has always longed for. The old man sighed, it's up to you. Go ask Secretary Jiang for the address later. But Shengsheng, when your work here is over, why don't you go back home and live with Grandpa? Jiang Shengsheng was naturally unwilling to do so. First, she was not that close to the Jiang family. Second, her illness had reached the late stage, and she did not intend to let the old man know. Fu Jinji, who was standing by, seemed to have guessed what she was thinking and spoke for her first. Grandpa Jiang, Shengsheng and I are planning to travel abroad recently. I'm afraid it will take a while before we return home. The old man looked disappointed for a moment, but after thinking for a while, he suddenly understood. Well, you young people should go out and have a look. Since it has been planned for a long time, then go and have some fun. Jiang Shengsheng drank one more bowl of porridge than usual for this meal, but he was not in good spirits after the meal. The old man was old, so after dinner, seeing the two young people together, he tactfully went back to rest. Before leaving, she asked Secretary Jiang to leave her an unlimited bank card, saying that it would allow her to travel more abroad and buy whatever she wanted. What's wrong? Mr. Jiang is so nice to you, but you're not happy? Fu Jinji asked when he saw that she looked a little worried. Jiang Shengsheng shook his head. I have never been loved since I was a child. Now that I am dying, someone loves me. Don't you think it's funny? Fu Jinji just smiled and asked her, if you love someone, it's good to be together sooner or later, isn't it? Jiang Shengsheng was stunned by his question for a moment. Then she came to her senses and realized that she shouldn't think like that. She was just being greedy. Yes, it's never too late to be loved. When I walked out of the restaurant, the heavy snow outside had not stopped yet. I heard a black Maserati outside the door. Two people came out side by side, and then the people inside got out. Sounds. Lu Mingfei called her name in a soft voice with a gentle smile on his face, as if the unpleasant things that happened between them in the past had never existed. Jiang Shengsheng didn't give him a good look, and said coldly, Mr. Lu, is there something wrong? Are you still angry with me because of what happened before? Shengsheng, I apologize to you. Can we have a good talk? Jiang Shengsheng didn't want to get entangled with him anymore, but since some things were not made clear, he still thought she owed her something. She could only ask Fu Jinji to give her some time to deal with it. Brother Fu, I have something I want to deal with, can you wait for me for a while? Fu Jinji glanced at Lu Mingfei coldly, then turned and nodded to Jiang Shengsheng, then I'll go to the parking lot and drive the car over. Jiang Shengsheng agreed and chose a coffee shop next door and walked in with Lu Mingfei. Shengsheng, you must have misunderstood about the wedding. We agreed to get married, didn't we? You left without saying a word. How do you want me to end the wedding without a bride? As soon as they sat down, Lu Mingfei couldn't wait to start explaining, which was completely different from his previous attitude towards her. She suddenly found it funny. You mean, this is all my fault? I'm not blaming you, I just don't want you to misunderstand me. We've been together for 8 years, you know me, I love you very much, Shengsheng. If one had not heard or seen it with one's own eyes, it would be easy for one to believe his affectionate and serious look. But Jiang Shengsheng sneered, you love me? So I should take care of your mother and endure her troubles. But when my mother died, you didn't even go to see her, and you were still fooling around with Zhou Yun. You said you love me? I didn't, you misunderstood, I started dating her just. Lu Mingfei suddenly choked. Judging from Jiang Shengsheng's expression, these excuses are obviously useless. But Shengsheng, everyone makes mistakes, can't you just forgive me this time? No. Jiang Shengsheng said firmly, Lu Mingfei, you have never loved anyone. You are only selfish. Your turning back and regretting now will only make people feel disgusted. It is best for us not to have any intersection for the rest of our lives. These words were like knives stabbing straight into Lu Mingfei's heart. He felt angry. What about you? How honest are you? You are the granddaughter of the old man from the Jiang family in Nanchang. You have never told me that you seem to have suffered a lot with me over the years. Isn't it just a way to win my love? Having said this, Jiang Shengsheng no longer had any desire to explain. Through the glass window of the cafe, she saw Fu Jinji's car parked at the door waiting for her. A hint of joy unconsciously appeared in the corners of her eyes, and she stood up without hesitation. No matter what you think, I have said everything I need to say. From now on, let's not see each other again. After saying that, she stood up and was about to leave, but Lu Mingfei blocked her way first. Shengsheng, I was wrong. What do you want me to do to forgive me? I can do anything. When she loved him before, she believed everything he said. But now, she clearly saw how clumsy his lies were from beginning to end. Jiang Shengsheng looked up at him and said, I didn't expect you to be so brazen as to say you love me. Or are you in love with Jiang Shengsheng from the Jiang family in Nanchang? From the time we met until now, have you ever cared about me or asked me if I was okay? After saying that, she turned and left without any hesitation. Her best 8 years, from this moment on, were a complete break with the past. In the past, she was the unloved, lonely and helpless Jiang Shengsheng. Now, she is Miss Jiang, who is loved by everyone in the Jiang family. She has someone to accompany her, someone to love her, and someone waiting for her to come home in winter. Late at night, Lu family villa. Lu Mingfei hadn't been to this villa for some time. The abandoned villa was only cleaned occasionally by an aunt. The house was still relatively clean and tidy, but there were fewer and fewer signs that Jiang Shengsheng had ever lived there. Lu Mingfei recalled the time when he lived with Jiang Shengsheng in this villa. It had been so warm and beautiful. There was an inconspicuous ring box on the table, which contained the wedding ring he once wanted to give to Jiang Shengsheng. It turned out that she didn't take the wedding ring he bought for her. He picked up the ring box and opened it to reveal a sparkling diamond. He was once just one step away from marrying her. There was a pile of papers under the ring box. He picked it up and flipped through it casually. When he reached the bottom, his hand suddenly stopped. The 3 big words medical record were written prominently on the booklet at the bottom. For no apparent reason, Lu Mingfei's heart skipped a beat and his hands trembled slightly as he picked up the medical record to look through it. On the last page of paper, the diagnosis was clearly written in 4 large characters: advanced gastric cancer. The diagnosis was made several months ago.